Hiya, Honest Discussioner here. I'm going to be continuing the back and forth between myself and the real Darth Kai, who posted a video response to my first response on the Kalam cosmological argument. From what I can tell, Kyle seems to have misunderstood my arguments quite a bit, or simply just didn't address them. First, he goes on to express again the idea that an infinite spontaneous vacuum fluctuation isn't possible. First, I don't know where he's getting the idea of an infinite spontaneous vacuum fluctuation. In fact, when you type that in quotations in Google, you only get one hit, which is my first video response to him. The theory does not, I repeat, not dictate that an infinite amount of universes should appear in front of you. He's completely misunderstanding the theory. If a universe does generate due to vacuum zero-point energy, it doesn't happen in a localized space within this universe. Now, to say I have a lay understanding of this theory would probably be an overstatement, but I think I can say with full confidence that Kyle does not understand the theory enough to claim that it has been debunked. Again, I'll restate this. If vacuum fluctuations cannot explain the universe because it dictates that we'd see universes popping right in front of our eyes all the time, why is it widely accepted? Maybe a more likely explanation is that we don't expect to see that, and if you really want to understand the theory enough to argue against it, you'd probably have to spend about 3 or 4 years studying math and physics. He also argues a lot about the impossibility of an infinite regress. I'm going to address Kyle directly right now and say, Kyle, my arguments are in no way based on or have to appeal to an infinite regression. The problem of an infinite regression really only applies to time and maybe space. When I talked about the matter and energy being eternal, that does not require an infinite regression. Eternal is not the same thing as infinite. It is the difference between saying something always existed and saying there was never a time it didn't. You see, the idea of the Big Bang was that space and time were created. The Big Bang does not state that the material that created the Big Bang began to exist. It is not an explosion from nothing. To put it simply, if you are claiming that an eternal conscious entity that exists outside of time and space created the universe, then I can in fact claim that an eternal unconscious entity expanded which created space-time. There is nothing about this that requires the entity to be conscious. Actually, not only is there nothing that dictates it should be conscious, really, there's a good reason to believe it can't be conscious. Consciousness, as best we can tell, requires time. For it to be a choice, there must be a state of affairs where the choice was not made, and a state of affairs in which it was chosen. Otherwise, it was an unconscious state-state reaction. Not only that, but there is no evidence a mind can even exist without physical space. Kyle can't appeal to the mind of God unless he wants to appeal to circular reasoning. This was one of my bigger issues with his argument, and it is one that Kyle did not address in his response. Even if he was able to ultimately defeat every scientific theory that we currently have to explain the universe, his argument for God still fails. If he wants it to succeed, he has to explain how a conscious mind could exist outside of space-time and choose without time. Something that is merely asserted in William Lane Craig's book, Reasonable Faith, never actually explained. Have a nice day. Honest Discussioner, out.